A little bit.
Yeah, all right. So yeah, it's been great chatting with you off screen here. I know that we have gone over the role and duties that it entails. So I want to go ahead and really just kickstart this interview. This is going to be to where you can really highlight your professional experience. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and pass you the mic, Sonia. So if you can kindly tell me a little bit about, a little bit about yourself and your professional experience, and we'll just go from there.
Perfect. I relocated here from Illinois 8 years ago. I currently work for Walt Disney. I'm a custom or a guest service representative. I answer calls for all 23 resorts. And on a nightly basis, I can do anywhere from 120 calls to 140 calls. That can range from emergency situations that a guest is having to bring me blankets, towels, pillows. It's a lot more detail because you have to, Disney, it prides itself on having a magical time at Disney. So we do our best to, make the guests very comfortable, very happy, so that they do long term and return and do vacations. And I love the fact that I get to hear stories from generations, which a person that's came to Disney in 1980 is now bringing their children and their grandchildren. I love to hear the stories about everyone, things happening where they're getting engaged, they're getting married, and so it's like really wonderful to hear the guests from all over the world. Before Disney, I did work as a branch manager for a staffing agency called Future Force Personnel. I did all their hiring for several customers, and one of our largest was a very well-known food company, Goya Foods. I used to hire all their staff for the warehouse, the merchandisers, the sales, CDL drivers, and that entails, doing background checks, MVRs. So it was taking a candidate from point A to point Z. And then prior to that, I did work for the Department of Human Services for several months until I found my niche, which was at Future Force, being the branch manager. At the Department of Human Services, it was servicing, customers that came in that were looking for, any type of services with assistance with rental, food, shelter. And then before that, I worked for Northwest Insurance for 15 years, selling auto insurance, and that was in Illinois.
Amazing. And so now you gave a great outline as far as professional experience and where you are today. All in all, what I've heard is that you are very well versed in customer service. As of right now, as you mentioned, you're working at, Disney World, the call center, right, which you're handling over 145, 150 calls on a daily basis. So you have that multitasking agenda to where I know you're navigating on the screen, perhaps, and on the phone as well with your customer. And then you also have that leadership experience when it comes down to you being a branch manager over at Future Force Staffing Agency, which you were there for about 4 years. So very much well versed. Now, in that, because all of which your experience ties into customer service, Sonia. So I want to know, what does customer service ultimately mean to you?
Customer service is providing the best possible service to the customer so that they return to you. That's the most important thing. If you do customer service once the first time, you'll have customers that will return to you. I know that if there's an issue and you're able to resolve that issue, the customer is going to know that, hey, I could depend on that company, or I could depend on that person, that they're going to make sure that my order or my, whatever it is you're doing in that role of customer service, that they're going to depend on you. It's just like when I sold auto insurance, I used to take care of my customers. If they had a claim and they didn't, know English and they needed to fill out paperwork, I would tell them to come in. I would help them through the claim process, and that made the claim process, speed along faster. And they would bring their kids to me when they were of driving age, or they would recommend me because they would say, hey, she goes above and beyond. She helps out with claims. She follows through. She makes sure your car, and then she makes sure that you have, what you need to be protected. So I used to have, generational customers, because I would start off with the dad, and then when their kids became of driving age, I would have the kids, and then they would tell their family members. And so that kept my renewal ratio very high. I did receive several awards, not to toot my horn, but I did receive several awards for renewal, cancellation ratios being low, sales. So I really love, doing customer service. That's my niche. I get along well with the public, and customer service means that you go above and beyond.
That's a beautiful story, Sonia. And that really shows with, having that return to which, you have generations coming to you, for example, at the auto, at the dealership, nonetheless. It really shows your character, and also ties into the customer service, where you want your customers and clients to come back ultimately. Now I want to maneuver over to multitasking, right? Because I know what with a role such as this, there's a lot of multitasking, equivalent to like a receptionist, right? But a little bit more. So with a role such as this, as we spoke about, right, you're dealing with perhaps like invoices, credits, you're dealing with answering the phones, emails, perhaps walk-ins as well. So how are you able to navigate, or how do you organize yourself when it comes down to multitasking?
Well, I'm very good at multitasking. Sorry about that. I'm very good at multitasking. When I was at Future Force, Holly. When I was at Future Force, at one time I stayed without a receptionist. So I was taking care of the walk-ins, assisting customers or applicants with their application process, interviewing them. So I'm used to multitasking. It takes a lot, but I mean, you have to make sure that the customer is serviced 100%. And I mean, I used to use different programs with Future Force as well as Disney. So I'm very good at having 4 or 5 programs open and being able to multitask, answer phones. If somebody needs invoices sent to them via fax, via email, attached documents. So I've done it kind of all in the last 25 years.
You for sharing that. So you mentioned programs, Sonia. What are some programs that you have used or are familiar with? I know sometimes the names, we can't remember them, but even going to like Excel for experience. Tell me about those programs and systems.
So I do Excel. I know how to do Microsoft Suites. And then, like I said, at Disney, there's like emergencies that you fill out forms online, documents online. At Future Force, it was also the same way that I had to use, Outlook, Microsoft Word Suite, Excel, because we had to send reports on every Friday regarding the branch and how it progressed during the week. Also KPIs. So there's a lot of, there was a lot going on, and I was able to, multitask. But I'm very quick at learning. Any new program, you just give it to me, you kind of explain how it works, and I take off with it.
Amazing.
And I'm not afraid to learn anything new.
Yeah, I can see, because you've been in different industries. So it shows that you're very adaptable, and you're always willing to learn a new skill in each industry. So that
Yes,
shows
ma'am.
in itself.
Yes, ma'am. You have to
Now,
keep evolving.
absolutely, completely agree. As far as languages, Sonia, I know you mentioned previously on the call that you would help, clients at the dealership who didn't speak English. So what are the languages that you do speak fluently?
I speak fluently English and Spanish.
Awesome. My last question for you is, when were you looking to start a new opportunity?
So I would like to if I'm given the opportunity, I would like to give my current employer at least a 2-week notice, because I feel, that's just a courtesy. And anytime you leave a position, you want to give a 2-week notice to leave on good terms. You never want to burn your bridges.
Absolutely agree, Sonia. Well, thank you once again for taking the time to speak to me this morning. I'm going to go ahead and start the recording, but don't hang up on me quite yet. I want to continue chatting with you really quickly.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.